Good morning, Hope City. My name is Adam, and in today's Daily Devo, we're going over Genesis 41. So in this chapter, we see Joseph is still in prison, but now it turns to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh had these two dreams that nobody can interpret, and the cupbearer remembers Joseph. And that's such a key point because he remembered him. The cupbearer didn't forget. It was all in God's timing. So he finally remembers Joseph. And then if you look with me at verse 14, it says, Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they quickly brought him out of the pit. So this was something that I thought was so cool. That word, brought him out of the pit. So he's in prison, but they called it pit. And if you look at chapter 37, when all of these circumstances started happening, it's because his brothers had hatred for him, and they threw him into a pit. And then he went to slavery. And then he went to prison. And now it said they brought him out of the pit. We are finally starting to see the meanwhile that's been happening in the background, why all this had to happen. So that is such a cool detail. And when I read that, I just had to talk about that. And then when you go to verse 16, Joseph answered Pharaoh, It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer. They're talking about interpreting dreams, and Joseph, again, does not bring the glory to himself at all. They get him to interpret the dreams because he did it before, and he's saying it is not me, but it is God. So just another point to Joseph's character and how the gifts that we have been given to God, we cannot make it about us and glorifying ourselves, but all the glory is to God. And then if you go with me to verses 39 and 40, it says, Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, Since God has shown you all this, there is none so discerning and wise as you. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall order themselves as you command. Only as regards the throne will I be greater than you. So now you see Joseph interprets the dreams, and Pharaoh has now put him into this position where he is above everybody else in Egypt, besides the Pharaoh himself. So Joseph went through all this, thrown in prison, and now, for in God's perfect timing, he has raised him up to save the people of not just Egypt, but the lands around them. And then you'll see how this is to preserve and save Israel, the people, God's chosen people. So it is so cool because you see how God's timing was always perfect, and he was always working in the background, even though our circumstances and the hardships and the trials, we can't make any sense of it in the moment. And then I love how Joseph knows this as well, because in verses 51 and 52, Joseph at this point has two sons. And it says, Joseph called the name of his firstborn Manasseh, for he said, God has made me forget all my hardship and all my father's house. The name of his second he called Ephraim, for God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. Showing how he named his sons, giving praise and worship to God, but with their names and the meanings of their names. So now every time he calls his sons names, it's a reminder of look at what God brought me out of, and then how he blessed me in this. And that's such a beautiful thing, and that's something that we need to just hold in our hearts, that though the trials are hard, the circumstances are hard, you can only see darkness all around us, God is always working. There's always that meanwhile. And in the end, it will always bring glory to God. So thank you for watching today's Daily Devo, and I'll catch you next time.